All right, guys, it's time to do some more stuff. We're back on the old F100. She's been sitting here collecting some leaves and whatnot for a little bit because we got a running issue we've got to address that I've been trying to mess with for a long time, and I think it's time we finally put it to bed. So this thing is carbureted, and it does still have the original mechanical fuel pump on it. I put a brand new carburetor on this thing a week ago off camera, just maintenance stuff. This thing needed it. The old one had been rebuilt a couple times and it just wasn't cutting it. I'm still having some running issues though, and my main issue is idling runs great. Light throttle runs great. If you put this thing under medium heavy load for more than like 2 minutes, it runs out of gas basically. It cannot feed fuel enough to drain the bowls, and it stumbles. If you're on it full on, if you're flooring it trying to get on the highway, it'll backfire, it'll start to run terrible, and it basically stalls out and runs out of fuel. If you look at my clear filter, which I'll bring you in on, you can see that it actually fuel just kind of barely weeps in there, just enough to kind of keep the thing going, but it is not pumping like it should. I don't think it's the fuel pump. It's a newer fuel pump. I've replaced it a couple times on this truck since I've owned it. I don't think that's really the issue, but I think this thing is either, I don't know if it's vapor locking. I don't know if maybe there's a hole in the soft line right at the tank and it's just losing prime. But what we're gonna try for now, just to see if it's any impact, and it'll help us on starting this thing when it sits for long periods of time, I'm gonna put a clicky clacky on the back so we can give this thing a little bit of an electronic boost. That way I'm gonna wire it to probably either a toggle switch or something like that, so when I go to use this thing, I can flip that switch, and instead of having to crank on this thing for 30 seconds trying to get fuel up, it'll prime itself, should be able to just pump the gas one time, turn the key and go. And I'm hoping that little bit of extra pressure from a low pressure electric pump in the back will be enough to keep this thing fed with fuel enough to run well. I'm just gonna put it in line and leave the mechanical in here. We're gonna see how that does. And if that doesn't resolve things, then we'll dig deeper. I don't believe the sock's plugged, because when I disconnect the fuel filter and I'm working on this thing and the line dips low, it flows out of that line, no problem. So I think it's just, I think that either needs some assist in the back, or we're somehow, the fuel's, vapor locking, or we got something going on, maybe even with the carb. But like I said, second carb, same problem. So we're gonna go ahead and dig in, put this clicky clacky on it, see if that'll fix things. It was a $10 Amazon clicky clacky fuel pump. So if that works, great. And mostly I just kind of want to see what it'll do. So we're gonna dig in, see what we get. What's interesting is right now, this filter's full of fuel. When it gets hot is when that fuel starts to struggle. At least that's my theory, because normally when it's running for extended periods of time, so I'm assuming it's the heat, it starts to run low, which makes me think this thing's boiling over. And I've taken, you can see here, it's chock full. We'll run it for a little bit, we'll watch that dissipate. But I've already put the heat shielding around the hard line from the filter all the way up. I tried the wooden clothespin trick, which allegedly is supposed to help the vapor lock and the fuel boiling as well. I replaced the rubber line between the carb and here just to make sure that there was no cracks anywhere, but that would cause a leak because it's under pressure at that point. Only thing I can think of is there's a crack in the line back there. This pump is too weak, or it's boiling. And since it's an aftermarket pump, and aftermarket parts kind of suck nowadays, especially ones that are the Chinese varietal, and this one I'm sure is, that's where my money's at. So we're gonna put more Chinese parts at it to try and fix it. I bought the $10 Amazon riding lawnmower electric clicky clack fuel pump. So we're gonna toss that on and see what we get. So she's choked up right now. It's running. There's fuel here. I can feel the pulsing from the fuel pump in the line. But even right now, looking at it, I can see that that fuel filter is only about half full now. It was a little more full even when we first started the thing. It's slowly lowering the level of fuel in that filter. We're gonna move it over onto the driveway so I can crawl under this thing without poking myself 50 times, and we'll take a look at that thing again. Just in that short little bit of moving it, you can see this filter is now almost empty. Little to no fuel in there now. So it's definitely not pushing, pulling like it should. So the plan is going to be to put this HEP-02A Schwing Schwang fuel pump on their inline right at the tank. So we're gonna stick this thing all the way in the back so that it's not having to lift real hard, which will make it last a little bit longer. And then this is gonna hopefully help give us a couple PSI worth of fuel pressure up to the mechanical fuel pump, which should be enough to keep everything kosher, keep that fuel flowing, and fill that bowl without, fill the fuel filter and the carb bowls without blowing out the needle and seat. That's the plan. So we got this guy. We got a couple various size hose clamps to cut and splice everything in. And this thing actually pretty cool. Came with a pigtail. I had taken it off because I used this actually to, I put a short stub of some hose on it and emptied out the boat fuel tank doing some maintenance on it. And it worked great for pumping from the boat tank into a 20-gallon tank I had in the garage here. But we're gonna put these terminals back on, and then we'll actually have a nice disconnect that can go to the truck, so it's serviceable at that point. So we're gonna go ahead, get that thing rigged up, and crawl underneath here. So for the wiring, I'm actually gonna splice this into this cord here, which is actually leftover light cord for 12-volt pool lights that I've got from work, and I've got a whole bundle of this stuff saved up. It is actually, it's 16 gauge. It's rated for up to 600 volts. It's good to 105 degrees Celsius. I mean, this stuff should be great. It's 12 volt wire. So we've got just a positive and negative in there, which is all we need. And I'm going to run this from the back. I believe I'm going to go ahead and go all the way to the front, and I'll probably do the ground direct off the battery. But I'm going to probably put the switch on the negative side so I don't have hot coming into the cab to a switch in the dash. But I'll do a switch in the dash, breaking ground, and I'm going to take the positive all the way up to the starter solenoid. And I think I'm going to run it off there, and we'll just put an inline fuse in it. I'm pretty sure I've got a couple little inline fuses I can crimp on here and put a 15 amp fuse in it. That should give us some pretty good protection. We don't have any hot wires coming in and out of the cab all willy-nilly. We'll be fuse protected, and if anything goes wrong, I should be able to, in theory, just throw the switch and shut the thing off. So that's what I'm going to run on this one. At least that's my plan. We'll see if that changes once I get underneath this truck. Perfect? No. But it's a $10 Amazon riding lawnmower clicky-clack fuel pump going in a $5,000 '78 Ford pickup. So that is the approved method. I'll snake that underneath once I get down there. We're going to go ahead and cut that line in half. Got a razor blade. We'll crawl underneath with us. Grab the pump and drag that underneath with us. Got some hose clamps, so we'll go ahead and get that thing hard mounted or connected on there, and then we'll figure out how we want it mounted underneath the truck. I'm going in There's our line right there. Okay, that looks doable. Show you what we're working with here. So here's the hard line coming out from the front of the truck. It's running up and over that member, up over into the tank. I don't see any obvious chafing, cuts, nicks in it. It's actually still a fairly pliable line. So we're just gonna hack that and try and splice our pump in right here. Let's get to it. All right, I think I got you guys on it. Line's right here. So this pump's not super long. So I'm thinking if we leave just enough meat to couple it here. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I think I'm gonna cut it closer to this to give us enough to push it over this way, and I'll couple a new piece on here. That's what we're gonna do. Make that clamp up. Let's see if we can get this loose. Yeah. And we got fuel coming out, so we know that the pickup is not plugged. See, it's there. Okay. We're gonna slide that pump on. That's gonna be the inlet side. And I think we're just gonna probably, we'll find a way to strap it up here after, I guess, but let's go ahead and run that hose clamp down. Sure. Looks good to me. Shake all the dust off of me here and let's wire it. This truck's so long, let's make sure this wire's even gonna reach all the way. You don't realize how long of a behemoth this damn truck is until you try and get something from the front of it to the back of it. I think that'll do it though, but only just. And we got it up front. Slid it up through the frame rail here and got it in my hand right here. I might make an adjustment here and come around the other side of this ground cable actually. Yep. I can splice this back. I can get it to my ground and my solenoid wire from right there. And that's what we're gonna do. Slight audible to our plans. Like I said, this is a modify as we go type deal. I am going to go ahead and tie our ground in right here off the battery. We're going to do it to a ring terminal, and we're going to land it right on the ignition side of the starter solenoid. That way it's going to feed the pump as soon as the ignition's in the on position. I do have an inline terminal clamp with a 10 amp fuse in it that I can just connect right here and then go into that ignition land. So this is going to be, at least for now, my way to rig it, because I'm thinking this pump's going to have to run all the time the truck's running anyway. So we're going to go with that. So I need one more splice and some electrical tape. We're all connected here. Ground's hooked up. Got the positive off the ignition side here. So I'm going to plug that in. The pump should not run, in theory. And then we'll turn the key on, make sure it does run. And then we'll check and see if our filter starts filling up with fuel. All right, I'm going to crack the key on. I need you to be my witness and tell me if that thing starts seeing fuel in it. And if we hear the clicky-clacky, go clicky-clacky. Maybe it's just not primed up. Shut it down and back on again. Still not a lot of fuel. I'm gonna crack the fuel line, take the air filter off, crack the fuel line, see if maybe it's just airlocked. Maybe we can prime it up. I'm gonna crack the fuel line. Fuel's coming out. So it's getting fuel, it's just not getting enough fuel. Even with 2 fuel pumps. We're gonna try something else here. And we're just gonna stick on here like so. I can hear it clicking and clacking. I don't really see any fuel coming though. Maybe a little, not much. It's dribbling in. It should be flowing fuel. I can hear it flowing now and filling the bowls. I hear it flowing in. There's some air in that filter, but it should be able to keep up now. All right, we're gonna call that good. Pull our jumper out. Put our 10 amp fuse back in. All right, let's see. So, fire's right up. Choke's on now. Pop that choke down. All right. All right, I'm floored. It's pulsing, but it's keeping up. It's doing it. This thing also doesn't have a kick down, so even flooring it doesn't always do the thing. Wait for traffic here. All right. Second, third, second. Oh, there's the backfire. See, she's starving already. Oh, it's not wanting to run at all. She's conking out on us. She'll run, but only at idle. And that's all she's got. Not really sure what's going on with it. This is a different problem. It'll crank, it'll start. As soon as I let off the key, it dies. Duraspark, maybe? Well, I figured it out. No amount of squirting pushes any fuel. So what I'm deducing is our problem is fuel, but not the way I thought. I think the pickup is clogged. I think the extra pump on it has sucked everything to it. Now it won't get any flow. So we're taking a 2-block walk back to the house. We're gonna grab a gas jug. I'm only 2.5 blocks away, so I can fill the bowl and get it back to the house. And then I guess I'll disconnect where we plugged in that electric fuel pump. I'm gonna push backwards with my air compressor through that line and see if we can basically try to blow the sock off of that pickup. Otherwise, tank's coming out. And if the tank's coming out, I'm not putting that one back in, which means new tank, new fuel sender, new everything on a truck that I'm trying to fix up just to get rid of. So there that is. Yeah, no good deed, but what are you gonna do? All right, let's fire this thing up, max it out at 150 PSI, blast the hell out of that sock and see what happens. All right, so I blasted it. I heard a pop, started flowing pretty good, pulled the hose off, fuel started coming back out, spritzing back out at me because I'd pressurized the tank, of course. Popped the gas cap to vent it, blasted it again, free flowing air through, no issues. So hopefully that took care of it. We're gonna fire it up and we'll take a look at this filter and see if we see flow. Oh, and I hooked the fuel pump back up. We're running mechanical only right now. I see spurts coming through. Spitting, but it's not free flowing. I'm gonna plug in the electric pump. I pulled the fuse on it. Gonna put the fuse back in on that. Well, it just went ahead and became the next day. I got roped into some other shenanigans, helping out Alonzo on one of his projects. Which was pretty fun and a lot different than this. But figured I'd circle back. This morning, we went ahead and got everything else squared away on this, and she is good to go. So blowing out the sock in the tank was our problem, or at least part of the problem. I'm leaving the electric assist pump on. I am gonna wire it up to a toggle switch in the dash. I may not run it all the time, but at least it's there should I need it. And I think it'll help because this thing sits for a long time. It'll actually sit long enough in my yard that sometimes I won't have enough fuel at the carb and I'll have to crank and crank and crank this thing. With that electric, I can flip the switch, give it a second, turn the key, and she should come right to life. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'll probably do that off camera. You don't need to see how to wire in a toggle switch, but that did fix our issue. So I'm gonna take you along for a quick little fun rip, and that'll do it for this one. This truck is back in action, and we can throw it back on the road and enjoy it for a bit. Right to life. Had to adjust the carb and also the timing a little bit after we got everything squared away, because that obviously impacted a lot. But now she seems like she's about as tuned up as we're gonna get it. I gave it just as much timing as I could before it started pinging like crazy. Now she's actually got enough pickup. It'll knock my camera over. Hadn't been able to do that in a while. Yeah, she's got some balls. Come up to the stop here, turn the corner, we'll give her some wide open that normally would have killed this thing dead. But now she's gonna take it willingly. So she's back in action. Oh yeah. Well, there we have it. She is back on the road, and we can enjoy this thing, cruise with it a little bit, and have some fun with our cheap truck that we fixed with cheap parts so we could have some cheap fun. I'll see you next time when we do more stuff.